16-year-old Erica Mandair and her mother, Deborah Segura, are suing Lavinia Kennard, her daughter, 15-year-old Brittany Williams, and her nephew, 17-year-old Cornell Martin, for an assault. Erica says the defendants beat her up during an argument at a mall.
Now it's case number 210 on the calendar in the matter of Segura Mandair versus Kennard Williams Martin. Has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Let's see.
What's your first name?
Erica.
And your last name?
Mandair.
You're a mother, Miss Segura, is that right? Now, Miss Segura, you're really suing on behalf of your daughter because you claim that your daughter was assaulted by these two people who were being supervised by Mrs. Kennard.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Mrs. Kennard's daughter, and this is Mrs. Kennard's nephew. According to your complaint, you dropped your daughter off at a mall. She was meeting up with her friend, cousin Jennifer. You got a call about an hour later, crying, indicating that she had been assaulted. But you really don't know anything about this matter yourself. It's your daughter. So why don't you have a seat for a moment? Erica, on what date did you go to the mall?
June 11, 2004.
And it was just you and your cousin Jennifer who were planning to meet that day?
Yes.
Tell me what happened with Miss Kennard's daughter and nephew.
We had been in that store, and we went over to look at the shoe section. Brittany and Cornell were sitting down, and they looked at us and started laughing. They were talking about my makeup. Brittany said, "Wow, look at her makeup. She looks like a clown." And so I was like, I get that all the time, people talking about my makeup. And so we walked to go pay for our things at the counter. And the witness, the one that's sitting down...
This young lady?
Yes. She was up there, and they walked up to her and told her about me. And then she looked at me and started laughing. I was like, okay, I still didn't think anything of it. So I paid for my stuff, and we were walking out. And then, all of a sudden, I hear the mother, she started laughing really loud. And I looked back, and she said, "What are you looking at?" And so I was like, why?
Make sure you tell me exactly what you said, because even if you said something disrespectful at the time, I want to hear the truth. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I said, why do you guys have to talk about me? We didn't do anything to you. And then she started getting really loud, just their hands up and everything. And then they started walking to us, and me and my cousin, we walked back.
Walked back towards them?
Walked back towards the counter, got back into the store.
Why didn't you just keep going?
Because both times I didn't think anything of it, and there were so many people in the store, and I was like, why? We didn't do anything. Why are we being humiliated? So,
you're right.
So I was like, no, I have to say something.
So what'd you say?
I told him, I said, why are you talking about us? We didn't do anything to you.
What was wrong with her makeup that day?
I didn't say nothing about it. I didn't say anything about it.
What did you say?
No, because me and him was having a conversation.
What did you say?
Nothing.
What were you and Cornell having a conversation about?
A movie, Medea.
A movie, Medea?
Yes.
What was the movie Medea about? Even she can't keep her mouth straight. Look at her. She can't stop from smiling. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right?
No.
Why do you think all this problem started, young lady?
I don't know. Me and my cousin were just having a conversation about the movie, and I guess she thought we was talking about her.
And what did she say to you?
So she turned around and I guess she asked her cousin if is that a he, she, is that a girl or a boy? And Cornell, my cousin, turned around and said, what happened? She was like, I wasn't talking to you. So me and him went back to our conversation, and I guess they walked to the counter, and that's when my mom came over there. My mom walked over there, and we walked over there.
Oh, walked over where?
To the counter. And as we was walking to the counter, they was leaving, and they turned around, and they mugged my mom. My mom asked them.
What do you mean they mugged your mom?
Like, gave her a crazy look.
Show me how they did that.
She was like, they just turned around and looked at her like this.
You mean like this? Is that what you're doing? Yeah. So
and
they turned around and gave your mom a look.
And my mom was like, do you guys have a problem? And she was like, well, yo, she's over there talking about it. My mom said, what she? This is my daughter and my nephew. So she said, what are you talking about? She was like, well, they over there talking about us, and we ain't saying nothing to them. My mom was like...
So this young lady said, why are they talking about us? We didn't say anything to them. That's what she said to your mom. Is that right?
Yes.
What happened next?
So after she asked her, my mom was like, well, nobody was talking about you. They was talking to each other, and they was talking to me. So where did that come in that they was talking about you? She was like, well, they was over there laughing and giggling and looking at me and laughing. And my mom said, what was they talking about then? She was like, I assumed they was talking about my makeup. And my mom was like, well, what's wrong with it? There must be a problem with it if they was talking about you. And the girl was like, well, I don't know. And that's when she started getting physical, and she started...
Tell me how she got physical.
Well, she started cussing. She was like...
She started cursing?
Yeah.
The girl, she started cursing. What did she say?
Well, she was like, this effing over there talking about me and my cousin about our makeup. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And she just kept cussing. My mom was like, well, do you talk to your mother with that kind of mouth? And the girl was like, no. She was like, well, if I was your mother, I would have been talk to you about that mouth. And the girl was like, well, you're not my mother. And she called my mom a B. And that's when we walked in. My mom told us to stand back because there is no problem.
Go ahead.
So the girl, she was like, well, yo, he. And that's when they walked towards us. And me and my cousin was standing next to my mom. The girl had walked towards us. And she was like, well, y'all was over there talking about me and my makeup. And we was like, no, we wasn't. And then the girl came up to my cousin, and the girl had pushed my cousin. She had given like...
Just a second. Who pushed whom?
The witness over there.
This young lady pushed somebody?
She pushed him. She gave him like a 2-finger little tap.
A 2-finger little tap?
Like when you go like this, she did it twice.
Okay, and then what happened after she gave him a 2-finger little tap?
She was like, well, I guess you're going to hit a girl. And he was like, no, I'm not even tripping off of you. And she was like, whatever. And then that's when she had punched my cousin in the stomach. And then that's when she had rushed him. And the other girl, Erica, I guess, she had jumped in. That's when I had jumped in and tried to pull one of them off. And then that's when the girl got up and swung at me, and that's when we all started to fight.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. The man there says Lavinia Kennard, Brittany Williams, and Cornell Martin owe for an assault at a mall. Erica says Brittany and Cornell were making fun of her makeup.
Up here. Did you punch him?
No.
Did you 2-finger him?
No.
Did you put your hands on him at all?
I put my hand like this because I knew he was going to come at me, and I didn't even touch him.
Why was he going to come at you?
Because I remember he was in my face, and I was like, you're going to hit a girl, and he goes, I don't care what you are. And then he just pushed me, and I fell to the ground.
Did you say that, Cornell?
No.
Well, what did you say?
She gave me the 2-finger push, and I said, don't put your hands on me. And she said, oh, well, you a dude, you gonna put your hands on the female? I was like, no, I'm not gonna put my hand on the female. And then she pushed me back again, and then that's when she socked me in my stomach.
How did she do that?
She took her 2 fingers and pushed me back like this, and then she took her hand and then pushed me out of the way. And then at the time I was moving back, she socked me.
With her fist?
Yes.
Were you winded?
Yes.
Did you fall down?
No.
What happened next?
I stumbled. And then when I stumbled, the other girl rushed me into the clothes.
Where was Jennifer at the time that Erica rushed you into the clothes?
Fighting with Brittany.
Was Jennifer on the ground?
Yes.
How did Jennifer get on the ground?
Because they was fighting.
How did she get there is my question.
She got knocked to the ground.
By whom?
Brittany.
By Brittany?
Yes.
Where was your mother?
She wasn't paying attention at the time. She was paying attention, but she didn't notice the fight until after she tried to pull us off. But she couldn't break it up.
Stand up. When you came to get your daughter at the mall, did you take her for any treatment?
Yes. She was taken by ambulance to the local hospital.
Can I see the medical report? Any photographs taken of her face?
Yes, there is.
I see, please. Who punched you in the face?
It was Kennard and Brittany.
Why'd you punch her in the face? Why did you punch her in the face?
I didn't punch her in the face.
Who punched her in the face? Who punched her in the face?
I don't know. We was fighting, so somebody's gonna obviously. She got hit in the face as we was fighting.
Well, I'm asking you, who punched her in the face?
We don't know because we was all fighting at once, and it was a big old bunch.
Well, where are your photographs of your injuries?
I didn't have any.
I don't have none. I don't have injuries.
You want to say anything?
Yes, Your Honor.
First, I have a couple of questions for you. You take 3 children. These 3 children you took to the mall?
Yes.
Why aren't you properly supervising them?
Your Honor, they was properly supervised.
No, they weren't. They were properly supervised. They wouldn't have been involved in an assault.
The way the little girl's saying it is not the way she was performing. The performance of these 2 young girls, I had these 2 sitting on the bench. I had my 11-year-old standing in line while I looked at a purse.
They were on their way out the store.
They was not, Your Honor. They lying.
Really? Where were they when this took place?
When they was at the cash register paying for their stuff. As I'm walking up to it, they turns around. This is the cash register. They turns around, both of them, and mad dogs me as the mother.
What's mad dog? What does that mean?
That means like they looking at you, they staring you up and down, just, you know, like,
yes.
you know, they finna beat you up. That's how the looks both of them gave me. So when I walk up, I look over my shoulder, I look around me. I'm like, what? You tell them MFs to he, she's quit talking about me. She's in my face. Mm-hmm. I'm at the register. I'm walking up now to this.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, they talk about Jesus Christ. I mean, so what did they say about you? She couldn't tell me what they said about them. She was abusing me like I was in it. She cussing at me. She talking crap to me and disrespecting me. And I asked her, do your mother allow you to talk like that to an adult? She said, I could say what I want to say. I say, if I was your mother, I would whoop you because you disrespectful right now. She said, I ain't disrespectful. Excuse my language. And she called me a B. And so that's when them 2 came up. And they said, don't talk about my mother and my auntie. So I pushed them back. And next thing I know, the young girl over there, she's flinching at him. She's standing at his face like, what? You know, she flinching. And then she took him and pushed his shoulders. And then she took her fist and she hit him. He fell back into the clothes. By the time I'm over here to get these 2 breaking up, the other 2 start fighting. So when I get through breaking these, get ready to break these, he come around to get her off of the other one. They never stopped. They just kept going at it with him. So when I finally got them both apart, she had a purse laying there with money. I picked her purse and her money up and gave it to the lady at the register. She said she's going to call the police. I said, we're going to stand here till you call the police until they come.
Let me see the police report, please.
And, Your Honor, I couldn't even get one. They told me I wasn't allowed to get a police report if there was minors.
I was, Your Honor, okay.
Well, Miss Kennard, there is a witness in the store who told the police that there was a fight. And this witness, not you, not any one of these people, but this witness who was just in the store, the witness said she heard you tell your daughter and your nephew to fight them.
Your Honor, I didn't do that.
Okay.
That's the honest God truth.
Okay. Would be a fair statement at the end of the police investigation, after speaking to witnesses and you, that the 2 of you were cited for fighting in a public place. Is that correct?
Yes. No, they had cited all 4 of them, Your Honor.
You 2 girls cited?
Mm-hmm.
But what happened with those cases?
We went to a aware witness.
Anger management is what?
See, they didn't get anger management. They got a aware witness where they had to go for 2 hours, and I sit there with them and pay $10 and letting them know they can't fight in public and letting them know how it is.
And what did you have to do?
An anger management class.
Same thing?
I didn't. She did.
She didn't get anything.
Why do you think that is?
Why what?
Well, she had to go to an anger management program.
She didn't go to it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Fighting in public, anger management, whatever it is.
All
And
right.
he did. And Jennifer did. But not her.
My thing was, to me, Your Honor, the girls started it first. So they hit first. They could have paid for their
No, she didn't hit anybody first.
Yeah, they both hit.
No. That's not true. She didn't hit anybody first. Jennifer may have put her hands on Cornell. She didn't hit anybody first.
She hit her. Her and Brittany fought.
I don't believe she hit somebody first. You didn't handle... Listen, their mother wasn't there.
She came in like them fighting, cussing me out, calling me B. She ran up in there talking about who did it, who effing did this stuff. I'm gonna kick their butt. Her husband, her sister, her brothers, they all was threatening us.
You're not following me.
Well, you said they didn't hit you on, and I was there.
I said the mother wasn't there when this incident happened. You were the responsible adult.
Yes,
it was your job to ensure that if one of these girls looked at you and they looked at you, as you said, with attitude, that you just say, forget about it. Nothing. Well, you told me the story, man. I listened to your
story. It wasn't
story.
so much of them looking at me attitude, Your Honor. They was being disrespectful. They was standing there mugging me.
You're not getting it. You're the grown-up. If they're not acting appropriately, and I believe that they weren't.
It wasn't them even saying anything. The little young one said to her sister and her cousin, she said, but we found out at the end. The police, everybody found out at the end that the 11-year-old, the one who said, look at her eyebrows, Brittany.
Just a second. So let me ask you this question. Now you're getting down to it.
Yeah, because she's
Stop
the last
speaking!
one.
So it wasn't your older daughter, it was your younger daughter.
Yes. The younger daughter made a comment, Your Honor, but they didn't even hear the comment.
Oh, listen. They should have sent you to some sort of parenting class. You're the one responsible to take care of the children who are in your care, madam.
Well, I thought I was doing that.
Well, you weren't. Because when you said nothing happened, they weren't talking about her makeup. They weren't saying anything. That's what I'm speaking. So it wasn't them, it was Miss Smarty Pants. But they had a legitimate complaint because she was being mocked by somebody in your charge. So instead of not confronting it, instead of not removing actions that could possibly result in an assault, you decided to confront them. And I'm telling you, you didn't do...
Your Honor, do you know when we learned about this little girl said something? After these kids then fought and everything was over with, then she spoke up and said, Mama, I'm the one who said something about her eyebrow. Your Honor, everything was done. They already had the fight. And this one told it...
She's not getting it.
I guess I'm not then, Your Honor.
You're not getting it.
Because I'm a very good mother.
You're not getting it. When you started to tell me your story, you and your daughter and your nephew, you all conveniently left out the fact that these young ladies, you can sit down, Jennifer, that this young lady told me the truth when she said that somebody was making fun of her makeup and laughing. And just because it was this daughter instead of this daughter, that doesn't make it any less true.
It don't.
Now, that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do the smart thing. If you're dealing with a situation where it's getting clearly out of control, you just pay for your stuff and move out of the store. You understand? Mm-hmm. They behaved inappropriately. The mother behaved inappropriately. Smarty Pants behaved inappropriately. They behaved inappropriately. So did you. You just should have left. But you were injured. Mm. She was responsible to take care of her children. All of her children, not just the older one, the younger one too. And you didn't do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
It's not the fact it was about my makeup, it's just the fact that I don't want, you're not supposed to do that.
I say nothing about it.
The way she disrespected and talked to me, I told her if I was your mother, I would whoop you.
I don't allow my children to be disrespectful.
I'm not going to just go up and hit a guy.
She man enough to hit me, so she man enough to hit back.
People talk about everybody all day long. You can't go around approaching everybody who's saying something about you.
This was a boy hitting my daughter, number one. And number two, it was violence and it was hitting. You don't do that.
Store manager Stephen Burnley is suing his ex-fiancée, Courtney Belluccio, for a credit card and rent.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 263 on the calendar in the matter of Burnley versus Belluccio. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Burnley, according to what I've read, the defendant was your former fiancée. She lived with you for a period of time. You claim that she owes you for two things. First, for rent for several months that she lived there and she didn't pay you rent. And second, for a credit card loan that you paid off for her and that she agreed to repay. The defendant says that while she was there was not an agreement for rent, that in quite the opposite, she was really treated more like a maid than anything else. She cooked and cleaned and took care of you and your children and the house. And in addition, while she does acknowledge that there was a loan for her credit card debt that she had, she says that she agreed to leave certain items at the house when she left that more than cover the balance of the loan, some of which she had already paid to you. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Burnley, when did you start to date Ms. Belluccio?
February of 1998.
And in February of, because I've read these papers very carefully, in February of 1998, sir, you were married.
Yes.
And how old were you?
36.
And how old was Miss Belluccio?
19.
Is that right?
I was 18.
And where did you meet her?
At work.
What kind of work did you do?
It's a convenience store.
What were you doing at the convenience store?
I was her boss.
So you were her boss. She was 18 years old. She was going to school?
Yes.
College?
Yes.
And she was working besides. Going to school full time?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had you been separated from your wife?
10 years almost.
Are you divorced now?
No, not yet.
Why not?
Long story. She was supposed to pay for the divorce.
I have time, sir.
Okay.
And it's a long story,
Yeah.
but I guarantee it's not
It was
such
a
a
matter
long
of
story.
principle that she would, when we had split up, she had taken all the furniture and stuff like that, and she was supposed to pay for a divorce, and that she never did.
Stubborn sucker, aren't you?
Yes.
You have children?
Yes.
How old are they?
11 and 12.
Now, when did Miss Belluccio move in with you?
July of 1999.
And did you become engaged at that time?
No.
When did you become engaged?
I do not remember approximately. She asked me to marry her first, and at that time I said that I believe she should be at least 25 before she gets married, so she knows what she's getting into.
And did you ever change your story?
I asked her to marry me a couple of years later.
Did you give her a ring?
Yes.
And you're still not divorced?
Correct.
How did you plan to carry that out, sir?
I procrastinate, but I believed that I would have it done before we would get married.
That's usually the way things go.
Right.
I want you to tell me about this rent that you claim she owes you.
In July of '99, I purchased a home. I did not believe it was a good idea for her to move in at that time, but it happened that way. The agreement was, though, that at that time the living expenses cost $800.
What were the living expenses?
Well, the mortgage was $550, electric, phone, stuff like that. They came to approximately $800. She did agree to pay $400.
Why would she pay off your mortgage? Was the house in her name?
I wouldn't call it paying my mortgage. It was half the living expenses.
She was living with you, and I assume sharing your bed. Right?
Correct.
Who took care of the chores around the house?
She did.
Didn't you think you were a little old for her, Mr. Burnley?
Yes.
Didn't you think that a guy who's 36 years old and married should have nothing to do with an 18-year-old girl who's working, going to school, trying to do the right thing? She want to get hooked up with you for it. You can't even get yourself off the horse after 10 years. Huh?
She told me age didn't matter to her.
She told you
She
age
told me
didn't
that.
matter. She's
Yeah.
18 years old. You're a grown man. Age matters. There are a lot of things that matter that people say don't matter. They matter. It is your statement that you did not have an agreement with him for rent. Is that right?
There was no formal agreement. There were times when we did say, give what you can. There were times when Stephen had 2 roommates where he didn't expect a penny from me. And then there were times we actually did, in September of 2003, have a formal rent agreement.
Okay. What was your agreement?
That I would pay him $300 and that I would pay for groceries.
Okay, and when did you move out?
November of 2003, at the end.
Okay, so for 3 months.
Correct. I always contributed to the household, whether it be projects or whether it be I paid for all the groceries. There may have been 1 month in the 4 years that we lived together that Stephen bought groceries. But I did all the household chores, and I assisted him with several projects. I have pictures of his whole house has been changed. I paid for a lot of those things.
Like what?
Painting. I helped him paint. We did the whole back patio, and I paid for several flowers to go in the ground, at least $250 a summer. I paid for flowers, and several of those flowers have come back.
So you treated the house as if it was going to be your home.
That is what Stephen told me at all times. That he offered one of the roommates money, $7 per hour, to help him work on a project. And I questioned, why aren't you offering me money to help you work on these projects? And he said to me that half of this will be yours someday.
I'm listening.
That part's not true about putting in flowers. I always had told her, don't put flowers in, you can't afford it, you're going to school. She'd also bought clothes for my children, which I told her not to do.
So she was a nice person
Yes.
when you were
Yes,
together.
she did a lot.
Tried to hold up her end of the financial bargain while you were
Right.
together,
Right.
and then some.
That's correct, which I'd told her all along.
So why are you here suing her for rent?
Principal.
Someone who proposes marriage to a girl half his age while he's still married, shouldn't talk about principles.
She came to me and told me that she had a credit card that she had, I don't know if it was maxed out, but it was very high interest. It was killing her paying the payments. So I decided to take a bank offer loan that I'd had and pay off that credit card, and it was at 2%.
How much did you give her to pay off the credit?
$5,176.
And how much did she pay back? How much did you pay back?
I paid back $3,890.
And you claim that you don't owe anything on this because why?
When I moved out in November of at the end of November 2003, I told Stephen when I was leaving that I'm going to leave some things behind. If I'm going to write my estimated value next to it, I'd like you to write what you feel is a fair value next to it, and we'll agree upon a value, and we'll take that off the balance. And he agreed.
Can I please see the list that you prepared of the things that you left behind? Well, let me tell you this. Some of this is nonsense. A bicycle. Now that's $100. Kitchen table and 4 chairs.
Sits in the basement. Told her she could take it. Would she need it?
2 dining room chairs.
In my basement.
You have any use for these things?
No.
You can go get these things because he doesn't want them, but you don't get credit for them. Okay. You agreed to pay it back. The money you owe him $1,500. That's all. Your lawsuit, sir, is seeking over $3,000. I think you're a little out of line. I think you're out of line with the rent. I don't think that you had an agreement other than the defendant has already acknowledged that is an agreement for 3 months. I believe her when she says she paid you the rent for the 3 months, September, October, November. Mm-hmm. That's it. You lived together for how many years?
4.
4 years? Get over this list. Get over it, unless you want any of this stuff. If you want any of this stuff, it's in his basement. I'll make an order that you can go pick it up. Do you want it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. She's going to come and pick up all this junk within 5 days of the date of this hearing, and she owes you $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think his real motivation is that he's simply angry with me.
I procrastinate a lot, so she probably figured I wouldn't try to collect it.
We had just completely grown apart. We wanted different things on a daily basis from life.
I was just in no hurry to get married again, I guess.
It was all on principle. He was planning on getting a divorce, and ironically, after I left, he initiated one.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of White versus Schimmels, step forward.
Nurse Diana White is suing her ex-boyfriend, switchboard operator Tom Schimmels, for the return of $4,000 worth of property. Diana says her ex is an abusive man. Tom is countersuing for harassment and mental distress.
Miss White, you claim that you met the defendant through a dating service. You moved in with him, and after a period of time, he told you that he wanted you to leave. You did, in fact, leave. It was not a pleasant separation. You claim he kept some of your property. You're suing him for that property in the amount of $4,000. Mr. Schimmel says that the only property that he has of yours is a stove that you left out on the front porch, that he's called you several times to come and get it. You can come and get it whenever you like because it's still there. Is that right, Mr. Schimmels?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And that Mr. Schimmels is counterclaiming because he says that since you left, you have been embarking on course of harassing conduct towards him, and you caused some damage to his home when you moved out. Mr. Schimmels, I assume that you are legally blind, sir, and that dog is a seeing eye dog. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Miss White, when did you meet Mr. Schimmels?
About June of 2003.
How did you meet him?
Through a singles line, a singles dating service.
You arranged your first meeting when?
I'm going to say June, the end of June.
And when did you move in with him?
The middle of October.
When did you move out?
February 10th.
Why did you move out?
Throughout our relationship, Tom would get angry and he would say, I just want you to move out. I just want you out of here. It made it very difficult to...
So why didn't you move out?
Because then he would say, I don't mean that. I just say that when I'm frustrated. The night of January 31st, we got into an argument over something very small, and he assaulted me that night. He hit me. I have a 911 tape.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And Tom Schimmels owes for the return of patio furniture and a stove. Tom says Diana won't leave him alone.
According to what I read in the complaint, Mr. Schimmels gave you $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
What did he give you the $2,500 for?
That was for a grandfather clock, a china hutch, some rugs, and a computer desk, the bedding for the master bedroom, pictures, rugs, things like that.
Well, do you have a list?
Those are not...
Do you have a list?
I do not.
I do, Your Honor.
You do? Can I
Yes.
see the list? Who is this? Your friend?
This is my witness, Tim Flanagan.
Jim Flanagan, Judy.
Your last name, sir?
Flanagan.
Mr. Flanagan,
Jim.
step back, sir. Bert
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
like anybody to get too close, even
Yeah,
though
all
I
right.
know you don't look dangerous.
Thank you. You bet.
A hutch, lamps, grandfather clock, curtains in the master bedroom, desk office, rug in the family room, and pictures in the master bedroom. Then you write, by no means is $2,500 fair, something the police have been to the house 2 times, and I do not want the... What is this, Bert? We'll ask her if she can read this, since it's her handwriting.
I couldn't read it either. Sorry for the pun.
Have been to the house. I do not want the abusiveness and fighting to increase, so under duress, I agreed to this.
Okay, fine. So, now, what things do you have, madam, that you say he refused to let you take from the house?
There's an entertainment center that I purchased in October, and I have a receipt for that. I purchased $2,300 worth of mini blinds and drapes. There's my antique stove.
Let's deal with this. As far as the mini blinds, etc., you don't get those back. They're fixtures. They're a part of the property, so you don't get them back, and he's not paying you for them. The stove you get back because he says he has the stove, and you can come and get it at any time.
Your Honor,
Go and
he
get it.
said this in the past, and he won't
Okay,
let me.
we'll create an order that 5 days from today's date, at 12 o'clock, you're going to come there with a, is this an old stove?
It's an antique stove.
Fine. Going to come there, and she's going to pick it up. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir. I've told her many times to come get it, and she
Fine.
refused to do that, and
Good.
I've given her,
No,
all
no,
of her stuff.
Fine. Terrific. The entertainment center. What about the entertainment center, sir?
She said when we were buying, I bought all the furniture from More Furniture. She said that she was going to buy that for me as a gift.
Give me the date.
It had to have been in October when we moved in because I bought all brand new furniture for the whole house. And
Okay. So listen to me very carefully, sir. In October or November, that means that within either a month to 2 months, you told her to leave the house, correct? After just pay careful attention, Mr. Schimmel.
Okay.
Within a month or 2 after she bought the entertainment center, according to you, for the house, you told her to leave. Is that right?
In December, yes.
And it's true that some of the stuff that is in your home, like the blinds and the stuff that is attached to the house that I already told her she can't have back because they're attached to your house, you still have there. Is that right?
Correct.
And you are complaining, sir, that she's harassing you because your counterclaim said that she's been harassing you for money. Is that right?
Yes, she's owes me money for damaged deposits.
Just listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't sue her for damaged deposits or anything else until she brought this lawsuit against you, Mr. Schimmel. So what I'm saying to you is, you're complaining that the harassment is because she keeps calling you, asking you for money.
Right.
Or her things. And I'm saying to you that it would have been smart of you if you told her to leave within a month or 2 of her buying you this entertainment center for the house. She was moving. You should have given it back to her.
Well, I understood that it was a gift when she bought it.
I don't think so. You prepared to give her back the entertainment center, sir? Along with the stove?
I can give her the stove. I mean, the entertainment center is built. I mean, it'd be really difficult for me to do that.
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right, so she gets the stove plus $771.50. What else, Miss White? And don't go into nonsense with me because otherwise I'll reconsider the $771.50.
I'm not. My patio furniture is there, my molded lawn chairs, my padded folding lawn chairs are there. He did return 2 of my hoses, but the ends were cut off of them. There's wind chimes, there's
Don't go into nonsense with me.
A 1940 radio.
You have an old radio, 1940 radio.
That she was going to throw away and she said I could have.
It's now become very, very important to her to have this old radio back. It's an antique. She wants it back. And when you give her back this property, she's going to stop annoying you. Do you understand?
Your Honor, when it all... I understand.
Good. So we have a stove that's going back to you and a radio. That's it, Miss White. Plus $771 for the entertainment center. Now let us briefly go into this counterclaim that you have. She's been harassing you. She's going to stop harassing you and calling you for money because you're giving her back the property that, according to what I believe she's entitled to, she's going to get within 5 days. Then you say she pulled her paintings right out of the walls and I had to hire a handyman to patch up and paint the damaged walls.
Yes.
Did you pull everything out of the walls?
No.
Show me pictures.
We don't have pictures.
Don't have
Good. Then you have no counterclaim.
We have where we paid a man to fix the walls, and I've seen the walls when she moved out, and there was holes in them.
Why didn't you take a picture? If you intended to sue her, why didn't you take a
Well,
picture?
I didn't realize they were going to get into such an argument over some holes in the walls.
I mean,
until
neither.
this-
So if you didn't plan on getting into an argument over holes in the walls, why are you bothering me with it now?
Yeah, okay.
Good. Counterclaim is dismissed. There's a judgment for the plaintiff that I'm entering 5 days from today. You to pick up your stove from his porch and the radio, which will be on the porch on top of the stove or underneath the stove or next to the stove, plus $771 for the entertainment center that he says is too difficult to dismantle. Do you understand?
Yes.
By 12 noon. Otherwise, it's gone. Consider it over.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I've tried to get it over for a long time.
That's all. Listen to me.
I've not,
It's
you know, I mean,
over.
I wasn't even comfortable in my own house.
Well, what would you like me to do about that, sir?
Well, that's why I countersued, because I was distressed and
I've been distressed most of my life, sir. It doesn't mean that I come to a court and try to annoy somebody. Do you understand? You should have given her back her radio. You
I
should have
tried
paid her
to.
for the entertainment center.
I tried to.
You did? You tried
Yes,
to pay
I
her for the
tried
entertainment.
to.
You paid her for the entertainment center?
No,
You
because she
sent her
said
a
that
check?
was a gift.
Mr. Schimmels, say goodbye, sir. Mr. Flanagan will help you out. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think justice does prevail.
She stole all my stuff out of the cupboards.
I'm glad that it's over.
She took advantage of me because she saw I was down and out when I lost my girlfriend.
No, I didn't take advantage of him. I loved him. You know, sadly, I loved him.
She says, if you're going to kick me out of here, it's going to take more than that. She says, you're going to have to chain me to a tree outside.
He would yell and scream and say, get out, and then he'd say, I don't mean it. And I'd say, you know, I made a commitment, so I guess you'll have to chain me to the tree.
She lived in the spare bedroom and wouldn't pay attention to me. She ignored me. She was nasty towards me.
After he assaulted me and he pushed me and the police were there, you know, it got pretty scary. It was time to go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rice versus Welkowitz. Winnie, step forward.
Restaurant owner David Rice is suing 18-year-old James Welkowitz and his former friend, 18-year-old James Winnie, for damaging his restaurant's sign when they were driving drunk.
Welkowitz, raise your hand. Winnie, raise your hand. Which one of you was driving the car?
I was, Your Honor.
Which one was the passenger in the car?
I was, Your Honor.
Which one was drunk?
Both of us.
Raise your hand. Mr. Rice, you are the owner of a Wendy's.
Yes, I am.
These two idiots came through your drive-thru.
Yes,
Mr. Wilkowitz driving the car,
I believe so, yes.
and Mr. Winnie, passenger in the car.
Yes.
One of them wanted free food.
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your hand if you wanted free food. Raise your hand! And when they were told they couldn't get free food, they drove off
Sped off, yes, Your Honor.
and damaged some of your property.
Hit a light pole and
a
ran
pole.
over a sign. Yes, ma'am.
And you want them to pay for the damage.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see the damage, please?
Yes. I have pictures also, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the pictures. I'd like to see the estimates.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, Bert, thank you. And I have police reports also.
Let's- Date of the incident, please.
October 21st, 2004.
October 21st. That's my birthday.
Happy birthday. My brother's birthday also.
Now, you gentlemen were not celebrating my birthday, were you? What were you celebrating on October 21st?
What were we celebrating? We're just having a night out, just drinking.
And whose car were you driving, Mr. Wilkowitz?
I was driving his car.
And how did you get the keys to his car, Mr. Wilkowitz?
He gave them to me, he asked me to drive because he was too drunk. Thanks. He was swerving all over the road because we just got back from Taco Bell.
How old are you?
18.
What do you do?
I do construction.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
June 04.
And you?
I didn't graduate, Your Honor.
How old are you?
I graduate this year.
How old are you?
18.
Are you on a 5-year plan
No,
of high
8.
school?
No.
A 6-year plan?
I started school late.
You think you're going to get smarter by being drunk?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rice has had about $1,200 worth of damage to his property. Who's going to pay for it? I don't see those hands going up.
Hey, Your Honor, can I say something, though?
That's wiping your nose, sir. I don't see the hands going up. Who's
I just
gonna
wanted to
pay?
bring up that he did break my nose. We got out the car, I pulled over, he broke my nose, I had to go to the hospital.
He broke your nose. That before or after you damaged Mr.
After.
Shh. Is that before or after you damaged Mr. Rice's property?
After I damaged his property.
Why would I care about that? I'm going to say it again. You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Raise your hand and tell me who's going to pay for Mr. Rice's damaged pole and sign. Ugh.
Can I say something, Your Honor? The only reason why I hit the sign because he grabbed the wheel.
Why would I grab the own wheel in my car?
Why were you in the car with him when you were drunk?
He took my keys from my friend's mom.
Yes. That doesn't tell me how you got into the car, sir.
Because he was about to take off with my car.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's lying.
Oh. I can't anymore. I can't anymore. I mean, it's Dumb and Dumber. They were the standard for the script.
You read my mind.
Mr. Rice.
Yes, ma'am.
Sad but true. Youth of America. Judging for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,200. Just take him out.
Okay. Please excuse you may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I was the manager on the shift, and they came through drunk, rude.
He only got 6 months probation and a night in jail. I got 93 days in jail and a year of probation.
It would never happen if he went and took my keys.
Judge Judy is always fair, and she's just like Dave Thomas of Wendy's. She does the right thing, and that's why I brought it to her attention, and I knew we would get satisfaction.
And Wes Baum is suing his ex-wife, property manager Lisa Baum, for filing false charges against him. Lisa claims West violated a restraining order.
Come to order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. That's case number 463 on the calendar in the matter of Baum versus Baum. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Baum, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she filed a false charge of violating a protective order against you. You want to be compensated for being taken into custody and those false charges. And Ms. Baum said she did not, that you did, in fact, violate a protective order, and she did not accuse you of any crime. She just merely did what she was supposed to do. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you and the defendant married?
1984.
And when were you divorced?
1999.
And you have 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
17 and 16.
When you divorced, who got custody of the children?
I did.
Was that after a trial or by agreement?
Trial.
And these are your 2 girls?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did the girls live with you?
Up till 2003.
So far, are those dates correct?
No, ma'am.
He got custody of the children in 1999?
Yes, ma'am.
And they lived with him until what year?
2002.
What month?
November.
What happened in 2002?
I received a call from him, and he said Katrina wanted to come live with me, so I went and got her. Elizabeth stayed with her dad.
So Katrina, one child came to live with you in November. That's
Yes,
Katrina. Did there come a time when Elizabeth went to live with her mother?
Only through why we're here. She went to do visitation. At that point in time, her mother went to the court and filed a protective order saying that I gave her a black eye.
When was that?
August of 2002. No, 2003, I'm sorry.
And so from August of 2003 until what time, what month and year did Elizabeth stay with you?
December of 2004.
And what happened in December of 2004?
On December 1st, Katrina and I got into an argument that morning, and the girls proceeded to go to school. Elizabeth went to school and decided she didn't want to be with me anymore, so she left school grounds without anybody's permission, got a ride to her dad's work, and she's been there ever since.
When did you find out that she was missing?
Like 30 minutes. I called the school because I kind of had an idea. I had called Elizabeth's cell phone.
Well, if you had an idea, then something more happened. Then you had an argument with Katrina, Miss Baum.
No, ma'am, it was just an
Well, then
argument.
why, if you had an argument with one child, why would you think that something happened to your other
Because
child?
Elizabeth went to the school and told them that she wanted Child Protective Services called.
Against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so well, that would give you a clue.
But it was unfound.
Just a second. But that would give you a clue that there was trouble. And that all happened on December 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. You're 17, Elizabeth?
Yes.
You live with your father.
Yes, ma'am.
What in your house is
with Elizabeth at all. It was with my other one.
I understand that your initial problem was with your other daughter, but it was Elizabeth who spoke to the guidance counselor. It was Elizabeth who caused them to contact Child Protective Services, who ultimately contacted you and started all the trouble for you. And you reacted to that, Mrs. Baum, by going to court, and instead of letting things settle down with your two girls, going to court and making trouble for your ex-husband.
No, that's
exactly what you did. Oh, yes, that is exactly what you did. Your former husband is suing you for $2,000. He said he was arrested. How long were you taken into custody for, sir?
I was released that day. But if I may add on that?
Yeah.
Prior to that, my daughter called me about 12:30 that day, and because where they live is in a separate city, I told her to call the Virginia Beach Police Department to find out what they would have her do, and they said, come see me. So she got a ride to home, and she got a ride from home to my work. At that point, I got a couple calls on my cell phone. I'm not sure if I responded to a call, if I called her back and said, hey, she's here with me, but do not come up here and cause any trouble. After work, we'll settle this. We'll go through it and find out what's going on and get to the bottom of this. Later that night, she called her, Elizabeth, up. My ex called her Elizabeth up and said, I want your cell phone and your key. She came over to the house and got the cell phone and her key to the house.
Did you go to his house?
I went to the parking lot next door at like 7 o'clock at night to pick up the cell phone that's in my name and my house key.
But not your daughter?
No, she didn't.
No, why? No, because...
Your Honor, I can't pick her up and put her in the car.
Because she didn't want to go home with you.
That's right. So,
and if you, are you telling me, are you suggesting to me that this magistrate before whom you appeared to get a protective order, you told him that your daughter didn't want to go home with you, she was okay with her father, and you went and you got your cell phone because you were worried she would make telephone calls. We're worried about her. Worried that she would make telephone calls.
Your Honor,
You're absolutely right, sir. It was vicious and it was vindictive.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, says his ex-wife, Lisa Baum, falsely accused him of violating a protective order. West says because of Lisa's actions, he was arrested.
Now, your motivation for going to the judge for a violation of protective order, I believe, was vicious and vindictive and had absolutely nothing to do with the safety of your child. Because your actions that day belie the fact that it had anything to do with the safety of your child, because you went there alone to get your key and your cell phone. And if you actually had fear for your child's safety, you would have called the police and said, please come with me. I have to go get my daughter. She is in danger. You didn't do that.
I did do that. We went to his employment to get her with the police.
They had me arrested.
Just a second.
No, to pick up my daughter. I didn't care what happened to him.
Just a second. And what happened when you went there?
They weren't there. Your Honor, I didn't get any help from the police.
You didn't need any help getting the key and the cell phone, only your daughter. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Now I married a beautiful wife, and She has a problem with it.
I left messages with him, you know, call me, let's work this out, and I don't get any reply. I think he's afraid of what his wife will say.
She didn't want me, and she didn't want nobody else to have me.
No, that's not true.
It's the first time that I've gotten justice in the court system for a long time. I feel good.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rutherford versus Sausalito. Step forward.
21-year-old student Ann Rutherford is suing her ex-roommate, computer tech Gina Salsameda, for the return of her security deposit. Gina says Ann left the place a mess.
Miss Rutherford, according to what I read in your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant sometime in August. And the idea was that you were going to stay for about 6 months. And because of problems that you encountered, according to you, you felt rendered the tenancy no longer viable. You gave the defendant notice in October that you planned to vacate in November. This case is about the lack of security deposit that was returned to you because she kept most of your security deposit of $400. I think she gave you back $100, and you want the rest of your security deposit back.
Yeah.
And now, since we've outlined the case, it's up to you to demonstrate to me why you're entitled to her $400 security deposit.
Well, the balance of $300 is for some of the damages.
I'd like you to tell me what the damages were. She was there a relatively short period of time, and unless she's a pig, she couldn't have used up all of her security deposit or most of it.
She was a pig, but one was of a painter to come out. She dyed her hair. She got the dye on my bathroom tile, used my white towel all over that. The bathroom door, there was dye on it, and also burgundy dye in the hallway. She had no regard for my home. I have a very nice house.
Well, then
I gave her an opportunity to clean it as well.
Let me see. You have photographs of that?
I'm sorry, I don't have photographs. I have a painter coming out and fixing it, basically painting it.
Let me see what you have.
There was other damage she caused that I didn't even charge her for, from some of my furniture.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so this cost $150.
And that's a minimum fee, basically, to have a painter come out.
And that was because of dye that was from her hair?
Right.
Did you dye your hair when you were there?
Yes, I dyed my hair in the bathroom, and there was a spot on the door.
Oh, well, had it be painted. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. She did not clean. She just basically left the room as is. So I had a cleaning lady come out, and $50 for that. It's a minimum fee for them to come out and clean the room.
I'd like you to show me a picture of the condition she left the room.
I would like to see that as well.
Like I said, it was just she didn't sweep or mop.
Well, then, that's unfortunate. You don't get paid for that.
Okay.
Okay, so far, $150 for painting.
Can I say something about that, Your Honor?
Yeah, sure.
There was a spot of hair dye on the door, and when I left, I said, Gina, I expect to get my full deposit back. I said, I realize there's a spot on the door. I said, if you want to go buy a can of paint for like $15, I'll give you part of my deposit for that.
Let me ask you this question, Miss Rutherford. In what month did you dye your hair?
It was in October, I believe, and then I was gone pretty much the rest of the time.
Just pay attention to my question.
Okay.
If you dyed your hair in October and you got dye on the door, why didn't you go get a can of paint and paint it? Why didn't you clean it up before you went anyplace else?
I cleaned up everything that was on the tile. The hallway charge is absolutely bogus.
Listen to me, my dear.
You did not clean the tile.
Listen to me, my dear.
Sorry.
Liar.
If you dyed your hair and you got dye on the door in October, it shouldn't have still been there in November.
I understand.
Good.
Your Honor, I'm also suing for punitive damages for the fact that I even have to go through all of this. There's the fact that she took this money from me, and the fact that, you know, I even need to come and do this is ridiculous.
Well, that's what courts are for. That's what happens. Where are you living now?
I'm living with my friend Christine across.
Is that where you moved immediately after moving out? How long have you been friendly with Christine?
For about 2 years.
Why didn't you move in with her to begin with?
She actually already had a roommate at the time, and I had somebody that I was going to be living with, and it just didn't work out, and so I needed to find somebody immediately. And Gina seemed like she was nice, and then about a month into it, I just found out a bunch of things that I really wasn't comfortable with.
So then you moved back in with your friend whose roommate left?
Yes.
Perfect. Now it sounds like everybody is happy. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $150. That's all.
Excuse you, may step out.
I think it was absolutely ridiculous. She completely lied about the painter's fees.
I think it was fair, and it was a waste of time, basically.
I actually found out about a month into it that she was bisexual, and at first I was okay with that, but then her ex-girlfriend started coming around. She started doing drugs again. She wasn't going to work, and I just couldn't deal with that.
I didn't do drugs. I don't know what she's talking about there.
She said I was a slob. That's ridiculous.
She's a prissy drama queen, Midwestern homophobic, apparently.
She was the one that never did anything.
She's just spoiled little brat.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rue versus Ginsburg. Step forward, please.
Daycare worker Angela Rue is suing limo company owner Paul Ginsburg for a refund of his fee. Angela claims the limo he provided for her twin son's prom was filthy.
Mr. Ginsburg, how many limousines do you have in your fleet?
9.
Mrs. Rue, you reserved a limousine for your boy's prom, is that right?
Yes.
From Mr. Ginsburg's company. How did you find his company?
Off the internet.
These are you two boys?
Yes, ma'am.
When did they graduate? This past June?
Yes.
And when was their prom?
May the 22nd.
And what did you reserve?
A 6-passenger limo, a new model Lincoln limo for my kids.
Did he tell you how much it would be?
$428 for a party package limo.
Is that what a party package is, sir? $428?
We don't have party packages as per se. A party package is how they dress up a limousine. But it's by the hour, times however many hours, plus tax and tip.
What did he tell you that they would have in the limo to dress it up?
It would be like a party scene, balloons, confetti and everything like that. Little soft drinks in there.
And what time is it supposed to arrive?
7 o'clock.
What time did it arrive?
7:15.
So what's the problem?
The problem is when the limo got there, I'm expecting a new limousine light. It had a broken tail light. The car was dirty. The tinted windows had bubbles all up in it. Inside of the limo, it had a cut, which it had a chocolate bar inside. I didn't know that until later after my son got to the prom, and he sit on it and got out and had a big old chocolate stain on his tux.
Did you take photographs of it?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see them, please?
This is all this inside.
Miss Rue, did you prepay this limousine the $428?
I paid it as it arrived there. I paid it.
The inside doesn't look so bad to me.
But inside...
Vern, what do you think?
Hard to tell from here, to be honest with you.
Sure is. Son looks pretty good in the tux. Pretty girl.
Yeah.
Whose date was that? Yours?
Yes.
Still with her?
Huh?
Son of. The outside has these little bubbles in it. Is that what you're talking about?
Funky.
Yes, and I also have a videotape of
Okay,
it, too.
so now I'll take a look at the videotape, because so far I see a broken taillight, but nothing that strikes me as being disastrous, quite frankly.
And they said, see this rip. That was rip. We might agree with that, but for $400, you need to get the discount or something. See here, look, ain't this trash up in this here corner?
See this tail light? It's flashing and it's white, okay? I just want to put this on the camera. Tail light's broken. Left hand side blinking is blinking white, not red. I should have been a lawyer. Running me some cases.
Did you have a good time at your prom?
Yes.
Did you have a good time at your prom? Sure you did. Did you rent your tuxedo?
Mm-hmm.
You brought it back with the chocolate stain?
No, we went in the bathroom and cleaned up.
You paid $428 for 6 hours. Now you're suing Mr. Ginsburg for $5,000. You want to explain that to me, Mrs. Rue?
For hardship.
What kind of hardship?
Because this only happened once in a lifetime for my kids, a prom. This is a remember moment.
Your boys had a good time at their prom.
After they cleaned up the chocolate off his pants and was disappointed because of the limo.
Ms. Rue, I don't know if you've ever seen me do cases involving limousine companies around prom time. I am very, very hard on a limousine company that overbooks, that disappoints kids, that doesn't get there in time, that sends the wrong kind of car, that doesn't send a car that's large enough to accommodate. I'm really tough on them because I think that that's, you know, without a conscience if you do that to kids and you disappoint them and don't provide a service. But quite frankly, life isn't perfect. And while this limousine probably could have been spruced up a little bit more, and while clearly I saw a tiny cut in the seat, you say there was some chocolate something in there that got on your son's pants. He said he went into the bathroom, cleaned it up, and then you went and you had a great time at your prom. Fair statement?
Yes.
The only one that didn't have a good time was you. And you have to teach your children the following. You have to teach your children that there are things that you get excited about in this life and that aggravate you in this life, and there are things that you just pass over. And you say, listen, things could have been better. You had a great time. Glad you had a great time. Next time we won't use Mr. Ginsburg's company.
Exactly.
That's all. But you're not entitled to $4,500 for your aggravation.
I understand that.
Right. And when you went and followed him and he had a broken tail light, there was a white light instead of a red light, I guarantee you your children didn't know that. The only ones that knew that were the people that were following him, videotaping for sort of sport this event. So, Mr. Ginsburg, let me explain to you, got off lucky, sir. Because while things could have been neater in your limousine, you probably have to spruce up your fleet a little bit. You're entitled to your $428. You provided a service for the 6 hours. The boys had a good time. And their mother has to get over it. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He advertised a new brand new limo, and what we get, a lemon.
If you go buy a car, and you look at the car and you don't like it, don't buy it. A limo shows up, and it's not the limo you want, call and get another limousine or don't accept it.
He said take it or leave it. So I didn't have no choice. I didn't want to disappoint my kids, so I had to take it.
It's the same when you have a restaurant and somebody finishes the last spoonful of soup and pulls up the fly and says, you know, here we go.
His ex-fiancée, insurance broker Stephanie Martell, for the return of an engagement ring and for stealing from his bank account while he was in jail.
Your Honor, this is case number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Balzolari versus Martell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Balzolari, you and the defendant were engaged to be married and lived together.
That's correct.
Unfortunately, you were incarcerated for a period of time, a drug-related charge, and then went into rehab. And it is your claim that during that period of time, Miss Martell cleaned you out, took your property, took your money, broke up, and she won't return a very expensive engagement ring as well. Miss Martell said all of that money was used to pay your bills, to pay for things for you while you were incarcerated, and she had to sell the engagement ring in order to pay those bills. Right?
Right.
Okay. When did you become engaged?
Your Honor, that was approximately 4/20. I'd purchased the ring. Here's a picture and a receipt. It was shortly after that we became engaged. And,
April 20th?
Yes, somewhere around that time.
Of what year?
02.
When was the wedding supposed to take place?
There was no
Mr.
date set.
What were you waiting for?
I don't know. For us both to agree on a certain date and, you know.
Okay. So you became engaged in April of 2002 and you were living together.
Yes.
When were you incarcerated?
It wasn't a drug. I'd like to correct that, Your Honor. That wasn't a drug-related charge. It was a felony charge. It was an impersonation charge is what that was. It wasn't a drug. I agreed to go into a drug court system.
Explain that to me, sir. You were convicted of what?
Criminal impersonation of a police officer. It was a felony charge, which at that time I was volunteered in a drug court in Rochester, New York.
Well, what did criminal impersonation have to do with drugs, sir? Why would you be placed in a drug court? I'll get to you in a second.
I was in...
If you can't give me the answer, because I'm going to get to the answer. If you can't give me the answer, I'll allow you to help me.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Before I had that charge, Your Honor, I was in a voluntary drug outpatient program.
Okay.
And during that time when the judge seen that, at that time I picked up the charge, she says, well, if you continue to stay sober and clean and continue your drug treatment program, we will dismiss the charge. And I failed to stay clean. So he incarcerated me and asked me if I wanted to do the time or do I want to help myself and change.
Mr. Borzelli, is what you're telling me, sir, that you pled guilty to criminal impersonation as a felony? The judge allowed you to remain at liberty as long as you were in a drug rehab program and remained drug-free. Is that what you're telling me?
No, there was no plea. My choice
Can
was...
I see those papers, please?
This was my whereabouts. The judge says, if you stay clean, we'll drop the charges and we're going to put you in drug court. Simple. If you stay clean for a year, we drop your charges. Conditional discharge.
Now I'll hear you, because this doesn't sound all right to me.
Exactly. We were friends. This is before we started dating. He was caught downtown in a well-known drug hotel impersonating a police officer. They forced him to go into drug court. It wasn't voluntary for him.
And then I assume that as part of this agreement that you had with the judge, you tested positive for drugs at some point?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you went into jail. And you went into jail, according to this,
The
on the
11th.
12th of January 2004 to the 20th of February 2004.
Correct.
So for a little more than 6 weeks.
Correct.
Okay. And is it during that time that you claim that Miss Martell cleaned you out?
Oh, yes.
Okay. During that 6-week period?
No, not entirely.
Well, when?
Well, cleaning out, I don't know where the cleaning out comes from, but I have a telephone bill. When she moved in, Your Honor, she was 6 months behind in her mortgage. She says, I want to get away from my ex-husband.
When are you talking about? What year?
02, when she moved in.
I'm not
with me.
interested in 02. Pay careful attention to me.
What are you interested in?
1/12/04 until 2/20/04.
Okay.
Period.
Here's a bill. She agreed to pay my phone bill, never did.
Mr. Borzelli?
Yes.
Get to it, sir.
Get to it?
Yes. I'm not
Phone
interested
bill,
in the phone bill.
cable bill she didn't pay. Here's the pictures I have from my house.
I'm not interested in whether she didn't pay bills for 6 weeks, sir.
Okay, so what are you interested in?
Well,
I have
my
a bill here, Your Honor.
It was
my home that I paid
I'm
somebody.
Speaking, sir.
Go ahead.
You're asking me, and I'm telling you. It
Okay.
was my impression, sir, that what you were suing her for were two things: personal property and reimbursement of money taken without authorization is what
Okay.
you're suing for, plus the return or value of the engagement ring.
Okay, thank you. Right here, Your Honor, is a receipt from a $2,180 check. Mr. Grimes here, my witness, has cashed it, gave her $2,180. She only paid a mortgage payment of $960, and that's all. I have missing money.
So is what you're telling me that she cashed a check for $2,000 and
Yes,
that
ma'am.
was your money?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And that she didn't pay sufficient amount of bills to cover that $2,100?
Yes.
Okay. She paid $900 in a mortgage. She did pay that
Yes,
for
she
that
did.
period
Almost
of time.
$1,000.
Here's the receipt, ma'am. It's
How much is the
$900.
mortgage?
It was
The
almost
mortgage-
$1,000.
Excuse me. I have a receipt.
Just tell me how much it was.
$979.
Okay, so that's
For the
close to
mortgage.
$1,000. So that's
Thank you.
$979
Yes.
out of $979 out of the $2,100 that she cashed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else did you pay for out of that money?
$600 of Rochester Gas and Electric.
Your Honor, I have a receipt here for $1,000. She didn't pay squat. Or nothing, I should say.
Mr. Borzelli, put down your paper, sir. Okay. Where's the other $600?
$200 from, this is what I wanted to say before, in December of 2002, he was incarcerated for a positive drug test. He went to jail for a week. I had $200 for that week of collect calls. When he went to jail the next time...
I'm not interested in 2002. What else?
Commissary money I brought to the jail.
How much?
I believe $80.
Okay, little bits of money. Let's talk about the engagement ring. Gave you an engagement ring. Clearly, it is an engagement ring. It's
Yes.
a solitaire. Where is it?
I sold it.
Did you?
Yes.
When? Look at me.
February.
Don't look in the air.
February of this year.
Show me. Show me.
I don't have
You
a
sell a
receipt.
$14,000 ring. You have a receipt. You have something.
I sold it to a family jeweler.
I don't believe you. You're lying to me. Because if you sold it to a family jeweler and you knew you were coming to court, you would have said to the jeweler, can I have a receipt for the ring that I sold?
I could have, yes.
Well, where did you think you were coming today? To a tea dance?
No.
You were coming to court.
Right.
Court takes evidence. You're full of baloney.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Robert Borzelli says ex-fiancée Stephanie Martell owes for the return of money and an engagement ring. Stephanie claims she sold the ring to pay bills while Robert was locked up.
Okay, it wasn't your ring. Now, even if you sold it, you had no right to sell it. It was your ring only if the contract to get married to Mr. Borzelli was consummated. It was not. The ring is given as a gift in contemplation of a marriage. Your argument is that you had to sell the ring to pay off bills. What bills did you have to pay off? What?
To maintain, he asked me to stay in his house and to maintain his
6
house.
weeks. What bills did you have to pay in 6 weeks that he did not cover with the $2,100 that you took out of his account?
I had to come up with money to move out of the house.
That's your problem. Are you over 18?
Yes.
Deal with it. That's your problem. That's not his problem. What?
I was just going to say that first and foremost...
Say something by standing up.
Sure.
What?
First and foremost, she was responsible enough to do what she had to do to take the engagement ring and sell it to her family jeweler.
I don't believe her, and I don't believe you. She did not sell this ring to a family jeweler, because if she did, the jeweler is responsible by law to give her a receipt. Do you understand?
I do understand.
And this wasn't a little ring for $300. This was a solitaire, which she paid over $14,000 for. And if you expect me to believe that she sold that ring in February to pay bills for him, which is what she alleges in his answer, I don't buy it.
That's
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, which is the maximum that I can award to you, sir. I want you to listen to me very carefully. You can put everything else away. I'm not interested at all about any other money she owes you, because the ring covers it. Do you understand?
Clearly.
I assume that you sued her in small claims court because it's the only way that you thought you'd get any money at all, and you wouldn't have to hire a lawyer to sue her civilly anyplace else. You are entitled to that ring back, because an engagement ring is not an absolute gift until the marriage is fulfilled, and it was never fulfilled, right?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff. Out.
Parties are excused.
It's wrong on his part. The reason we didn't get married was his actions.
I gotta hand it to Miss Marteau. I really do. She's very consistent. Every time her lips move, there's a lie.
I didn't want to be with him anymore, and he was upset by that.
You've heard of that deal saying, good pet's gone bad? Well,
He was threatening me because I wanted to move out for a while for him to straighten up.
how threatening am I? 140 pounds, 5'4". Ooh.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Glenn versus Kelly. Step forward.
23-year-old hospital administrator Megan Glenn is suing her former friend, 25-year-old bartender Megan Kelly, for damaging the transmission on her car. Megan says her drunken friend put the car into reverse while it was in motion.
Miss Glenn, you and Miss Kelly used to be friends, and it is your complaint that you were giving her a ride home because she had too much to drink, and an incident happened in the car, and she took the shift on your car and threw it and damaged your transmission. You had to have the transmission fixed. You want her to pay for that. In her defense, she says that she did not damage your transmission. All she did was put it in neutral. So, when did this happen?
October 18th, 2003.
Where were you?
We had been at her parents' house.
Doing what?
Hanging out.
Had you had anything to drink when you were there?
I think I had 2 or 3 beers to drink that evening.
What about Miss Kelly?
Yes.
You'd been drinking
We both
too?
had been.
How did you get to her parents' house?
I drove my car to her parents' house.
And Miss Kelly, how did you get to your
I
parents'
drove my car
house?
as well.
Why didn't you drive home?
My parents didn't think that I should, so I rode home with Megan.
Your parents felt that you had had too much to drink?
Yes.
At that point, did you argue with your parents when you
I
were
did.
ready to go home?
I did.
Okay. What happened?
We were on the way to her apartment, and she wanted to go to the bar that her boyfriend was working at so that she could get her keys to go. She was going to take a taxi back to her parents' home and get her car and drive it to her apartment.
And you said?
I told her no, that I was going to take her home. She got very upset, and I was going about 35 miles an hour, and she put my car, and it hit reverse, almost went into park, but not quite. The car came to an abrupt halt, and I pulled over to the side of the road. I yelled at her to get out of the car. She did, and then I went to put my car into reverse, and it was not functioning at all whatsoever, so I yelled at her to get back in the car, and she did, and we drove home from there.
You drove her to her house?
To her parents' house.
Can I see the bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Miss Kelly, your version.
She had said that she would drive me up to my boyfriend's work to get my spare set, and that we would actually go back to my parents' house, and I would just drive my car home. And then she changed her mind and decided that we were just going to go back to my apartment. And I said, well, if that's the
When
case...
did she change her mind?
We'd been in the car about 10 minutes.
You think she was concerned about you?
It's possible.
Go ahead.
I know I shouldn't mess with a vehicle in motion, but I put the car in neutral. You could even hear the engine rev like it was in neutral. It did not come to an abrupt halt. So then she went and went to put it back in gear, and that could have caused the damage, because I know, a car that's in drive can't go to park or reverse. There's safety features in the car. So from neutral, it could go into pretty much any gear, but from drive, I just bumped it back into neutral, and then she freaked out, jammed it back in gear, and then she stopped the car and told me to get out.
So whose fault do you think it is that her transmission was ruined that evening?
I don't think it was my fault. From drive to neutral.
Well, I'm asking you, whose fault do you think it was?
I guess it's Megan's fault.
Your fault. Let's say I believe you that what you did was you were drunk and you put your hands on her car and you put the car into neutral while she was driving. But for the fact that you did that, she wouldn't have tried to put a car into a different gear, right?
True.
So you have to pay for it. That's what happens when girls get drunk. They do stupid things. Boys do stupid things when they get drunk too. But it always is absolutely amazing to me that girls who are supposed to know better will drink to a point where they lose control of their thinking process and they act like idiots.
Okay.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,774.22. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. That's what happened.
My parents asked me to take her home because she had been drinking too much and I hadn't.
It's my car, I was ready to go home. I thought that was fine to drive.
She was definitely intoxicated, just very loud and angry.
I don't really feel like I was fully responsible, but, I guess what the judge says goes.
All parties in the matter of Hoyt versus Champ. Step forward, please.
Lumber salesman Robert Hoyt is suing his neighbor, Juanita Champ, for damage to his airplane. Robert says Juanita left a trash can in the taxiway.
Mr. Hoyt, I am so pleased that you brought that diagram. You don't happen to have a picture, do you?
I do.
I'd really like to take a look at the picture while I'm sort of recapping what I think happened in this case, or at least what you allege. You and the defendants live in a community where a whole bunch of people have airplanes. And instead of garages, there are hangars.
In addition to garages, there are hangars.
I wasn't looking to shortchange you, Miss Champ. I said there were big hangars for planes, but I'm sure you also have a car.
We do.
And it is your claim that you were taxiing your plane in an area where you are allowed to taxi your plane. It also serves as a street. And that the defendant placed her garbage can outside on your street/runway. As a result of that, you clipped the wing of your plane, causing damage, right?
Correct.
And Miss Champ's defense is you weren't looking where you were going.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, show me what happened.
On May 21st, while taxiing out of my driveway to the neighborhood road, which acts as the taxiway, I S-turned all the way
S-turn.
down.
What's an S-turn?
It's going back in the shape of an S, back and forth. I have a tail dragger.
Why do you do that?
I have a tail dragger biplane where you cannot see over the nose of the biplane. So in order to taxi correctly, you have to do S-turns on the taxiway. And as you turn to your left, you look right. As you turn to your right, you look left.
Why did you get a plane where you can't see over the nose?
It's an aerobatic biplanes. To reduce drag, you don't have a nose wheel, so they give you a tail wheel. And also, if you're taking off grass runways, it gives you more prop clearance. So this is
Sorry I asked you. Okay, so you're zigging and zagging in order to get to the runway.
Correct.
Go.
And 3/4 of the way down, Miss Champ lives, and upon taxiing, and hit her garbage can.
She's not allowed to have a garbage can on her property?
She is allowed to have a garbage can on her property, but the easement for the safe passage on the taxiway, 25 feet off center, is to have no obstructions. And an additional 10 feet beyond, there's to be nothing exceeding 2 feet in height. This garbage can is 3 feet and 2 inches, and she chose to put it alongside the taxiway. I have a videotape that also will show this, and I have the CCNRs, which will state this.
Take the videotape right for me.
Sure.
Put it in. And let me take a look at that
And there's the
regulation.
And also, Your Honor, from our Neighborhood Safety Committee, which will show that CCNR. You can see the can, which is circled with a red dot.
That looks like the can's out in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I don't. That's
Can
not on
is
grass, sir.
never in the middle of the street. Oh, sorry.
Was your garbage can outside?
Yes, it was.
Was your garbage can 10 feet in from your property line?
Probably not.
Why?
Well, every Wednesday the garbage cans are out there. Mr. Hoyt's also has been out there all that same time.
Mr. Hoyt, do you place your garbage cans out for collection every Wednesday?
Nope. Garbage is on Thursday, and mine go out Thursday morning.
You have different people picking up garbage in your
We
area?
place ours out in the evening because we don't want to get up before 7 a.m. But ours was out early that day.
Was this a Wednesday or a Thursday?
This was a Wednesday morning.
It was Wednesday because we were going on vacation and we put our garbage can out a few hours before we would normally put them out.
Okay. Now, when you put your trash cans out on Thursday morning, sir, I would assume that you put them out closer than 10 feet just that one day, and everybody is aware of that. Is that right?
That one day, sure.
Yes. I knew I was going to get there. So on Thursday, everybody is aware. Watch out on Thursday morning because the garbage cans are out there. Is that right, Mr. Hoyt?
That's correct.
But this was out Wednesday morning, so you weren't expecting garbage cans to be out Wednesday morning.
No.
I got it. I'm going to get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
I got a lot to say.
Well, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Hoyt, would anything prevent you, if you wanted to take your plane out for a spin, to get into your car, take a ride down the quarter of a mile and see whether there are any obstructions in the road? Would anything prevent you from doing that?
Nothing would prevent me from
Don't
doing
you
it.
think that that's a good idea, sir?
In light of what happened, that's a prudent thing to do.
Absolutely, because it could have just as easily been a bunch of kids there as a garbage can.
I agree.
And if you can't see, then it's up to you to be particularly careful, right?
Correct.
Now we're going to get to Miss Champ, who told me she has a whole bunch to say. Go!
Okay, thank you, Judge Judy. One of my premises is that Mr. Hoyt can taxi out of his driveway, go directly across our road, and taxi directly onto the runway.
Why do you think he would choose not to do that?
Because he likes to show off.
Well, explain that to me.
He had a passenger on board his airplane. He was trying to show off the neighborhood.
Is there a passenger on board your plane?
Joyce Bishop was my passenger at the time.
Okay. So Mr. Hoyt knows that you can't see over the front of his plane. It would seem to me that if you don't have at all times a clear view of what's in front of you, then you have to make darn sure that the area is clear. So you have partial responsibility and at least are contributorily negligent yourself in maneuvering your plane in such a way that you cause damage to it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's all your fault, but I'm saying it's at least half your fault, and I haven't let Miss Champ finish because she's got a lot more to tell me. Okay, so you think he was showing off, but you weren't there.
I was not there, but I have witnesses who were there.
Okay, here's the witnesses. Tell me your name.
William Peterson.
Mr. Peterson, were you present on May 21st, 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My wife and I were out in the yard. Bob come taxiing by, and he was doing his weaving. And he looked over at us and waved. And I'm sure that distracted his attention.
You remember that, sir?
Waved to not go move his truck. That's what he was signaling. He goes to get in his truck, and I'm like, no. And you can see his truck parked there. I diligently avoided his truck. Her garbage can, from visibility of the cockpit, was sitting behind the truck. And as I did my S-turn, so my wing avoided his truck, I did not leave the taxiway. I taxied to the right. When I did my next S-turn, I'm now pointed directly at a garbage can that should not be there. As you can see, nobody else's is.
So what you were trying to do, sir, is to avoid his truck.
Absolutely.
Now, if his truck had not been there,
I would have seen the can.
could you have seen it if you got in your car before you got in your plane and drove that quarter mile up the road to see if there were any obstructions?
I had picked up Doyce and his son and another friend at the airport. When we came back that morning, we probably came back before Juanita put it out.
Well, what time was that?
I don't remember the exact time when you came in the morning, but...
10 o'clock.
How long did it take you to get back to Mr. Hoyt's house?
It was probably about 11 o'clock when we were taxiing, so...
Okay, who put your garbage cans out?
Actually, my husband did.
What time?
Boy, that's been a year ago. My guess would be 10:30 maybe.
How long of a drive is it from where he picked you up to where he brought you back to his house?
It must have been 45 minutes, I'm guessing.
So it was a pretty close thing as to whether the garbage can got out there before or after you got into your car. I don't know. Now, after he hit the garbage can, did he stop his plane?
Yes.
Got out and looked at it?
No, he did not. I come running over there, and all the garbage is blowing all over the place. And he says, would you look under my wing and see if you see any damage? Well, it's a fabric airplane with ribs, so it, you got the dips.
Mm-hmm.
I looked under it, and I could not see any damage. And so I says, I do not see any.
Uh-huh.
And so then he
took off.
Took
did you
off.
go flying that day?
Yep.
Yes, I did.
How long did you fly that day?
Probably about 35 minutes, 40 minutes total.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Hoyt. Because you flew that day, did it exacerbate any damage that was done by the garbage can?
No.
Well, if your wing was so damaged and your plane is fabric plane, right?
Correct.
And you're telling me that you don't think that a fabric plane's wing could be further damaged by flying it for an additional 35 minutes after an injury?
No, it could.
Well, Ms. Champ, I think you're absolutely adorable, but I think that you have some responsibility with regard to this accident because you did put your trash can out on a day when he was not anticipating that it was going to be out there. You acknowledge yourself that it wasn't beyond 10 feet of the property line, which was the agreement of all residents. That doesn't excuse Mr. Hoyt from doing everything that he should have done. He should have inspected that area, and in addition to that, he drove the plane after this incident, which could have further exacerbated whatever injury was done to the plane's wing on the 21st of May. So I think that you bear the greatest responsibility, Mr. Hoyt. I'm giving you $1,000 towards your bill, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think I can say that Bob and I don't really have a problem between us.
I understood her points, but for her to say I'm showing off in court was ridiculous.
He can't see out of his airplane. He shouldn't taxi down that road.
Annabelle Barone is suing her ex-boyfriend, Asael Arteaga, for a loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2060, Baron versus Arteaga.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Barone, case is not a very difficult one. You met Mr. Arteaga?
Arteaga.
Take your hands out of your pockets. At a bar?
Yes.
When?
Back in June of 2021.
Did you ever live together?
No.
You always maintained your own residence and he his?
Yes, the apartment I owned was always underneath my name.
But he never lived there?
No.
Good. But you bought a car.
Yes.
In what month and year did you buy a car?
I ordered a Tesla back in, if I'm not mistaken, May. And
May of what year?
May of 2021.
Was it a new car?
Yes.
Give me a rough number. How much was it?
Out the door, 72,000.
And what color did you order?
Black.
This is what the case is about, and it's going to take me very, very little time to resolve the case. You ordered the $72,000 car in black, and because of whatever strange reason, you wanted the car wrapped. Now, I think most people know what that means, and I think I know what that means. That means you take a perfectly good car and you put a different finish on it. Is that what it means?
Yes.
You buy a car that has a nice shiny finish and looks clean, and then you put something on it that, I don't know, looks like it's been sitting out under a volcano.
I guess you could say that.
What?
I guess you could say that.
I just did. And that cost money. It cost an additional, I think, according to the papers that I read, $3,800.
No, it's $3,950.
How much?
$3,950.
And you had some of that money, but you gave him, transferred to him, $1,800 on your credit card.
Yeah, so it was an agreement made between...
No, I didn't ask you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. You transferred to him $1,800 towards this wrap on his car.
I made the payment for him.
You made the payment for him on a credit card?
Yes.
And according to you, your arrangement was that he would pay you back monthly $100.
Correct.
You don't dispute that.
She offered.
Yeah, she offered. And you did, in fact, on 3 separate months, pay her back $100.
Yes.
And that means that in your view, it was a loan.
Well, it was more of a gift.
Well, then why would you pay her back $100 a month, Mr. Arteaga?
Because our finances are much different.
What do you mean
I was getting a car, I ordered a car, so it was a gift for me, because she already knew that I was looking for a PPF, which is a paint protection film. So I'm more...
Listen to me.
Yeah.
You're not answering my question. You're doing a dance around my question. If it was a gift to you, this $1,800 towards the wrap for your car, why did you pay her back $300?
To help her out.
Yeah. And then you stopped, because that sounds ridiculous. You still have the Tesla?
I still do.
Yes. You making payments on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical superintendent.
Expensive car.
Indeed it is.
You're a single guy?
Yes.
That's what single guys do with their money. Tell me why you stopped paying her back, Mr. Arteaga.
Things got sour very quick.
So things got sour with the relationship?
Yes.
Okay. And is that when you stopped paying her?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500 is what he owes you for the balance of the loan. Thank you. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
We broke up. It was a nasty breakup. There was bad feelings and tensions between the both of us.
It was a bad breakup, yes, but there's a lot more details to it.
It was just out of pettiness at the end of the day.
Because she caused a lot of rifts.
I'm just not going to loan out money to just anyone from here on out.
I'm glad it's over.
And I'm really happy I get my $1,500 back.
Now that we've been here for a little while and I've been learning from you and all these cases that we've seen, still, rule number one, never give a boyfriend money and expect to ever see it again. You will never see it again. It gets messy, it gets entangled, and we see it time and time again. So it's just hits even harder at home.
Have you noticed, Sarah, that it's probably 80-20 that women give money to boyfriends?
At least what we've seen here, yes.
You know, and if this is a microcosm of the world, and I don't know what that is, I haven't been able to figure it out. I've been doing this kind of business for 30 years, and I can't figure out why. Perfectly lovely young woman, guy's buying a $72,000 car and says, hey, babe, I'm short $1,800. Well, if you're short $1,800, buy a cheaper car.
Yeah.
You know, there are cars that cost less than $72,000. Anyway.
But women should be smarter and not agree to do that.
They ought to make mandatory watching these cases as part of a growing up process.
A lot of great life lessons, for sure.
19-year-old Isabel Irwin is suing her father, Neil Irwin, for personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 27, Irwin versus Irwin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Irwin, this is your dad?
Yes, he is.
And you're 19?
Yes, I am.
According to what I read in your complaint, your parents divorced when you were 10.
Yes.
And your father was your primary custodian. You lived with him.
Yes, I did.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, I did.
When you were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, did you live with your father?
At the age of 15, I moved out because...
Okay, so at age 15, you moved out?
Yes.
Because here you said, when I was 18, my father kicked me out of the house for no good reason.
Yes.
Guess what? Well, you just told me that you left the house when you were 15.
Yes, and I lived with my mother for 2 years, and...
Okay, so from age 15 to 17, you lived with your mother.
Yes.
Is that because you were having difficulty with your father?
Yes.
Okay, and then you went to live with your mother.
Yes.
But that didn't last.
No.
So now, at 17, you go back to your father.
Yes.
And you stayed with him until you were 18.
Yes, correct.
So far, I have the fact that your family is a little dysfunctional, but that you had certain problems.
So I moved out when I was 18.
Just to say that. Would that be a fair statement, that you had some problems?
No, it would not be.
Okay. What high school did you graduate from?
It's a school partnered with the National Guard for kids that are off track to get them back on track.
Did you have to pay for that school?
No, they are paid by the government.
Could you look them up for me?
Yeah, it's a residential program for youths aged 16 to 18 who've dropped out of school or who are seriously behind in credits and need to catch up quickly.
Okay, so you were dropped out of school?
No.
Or seriously behind?
Yes.
Dropped out or behind in credits.
Okay. And how old were you when you graduated from...
I was 17 years old.
And so at that point, you moved in with your father?
Yes.
And why did you leave when you were 18?
He had evicted me.
Okay. And I'd like you to tell me your version of his evicting you when you were 18, because this case involves you're suing your father for items that he disposed of that were yours, and you want this court to award you $7,400 for the things that he disposed of that were yours.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me why you believe he evicted you when you were 18.
I believe he evicted me when I was 18 because I was buying my first car and he got jealous of the car I had, and he stated that when I moved back in for the second time. He evicted me the second.
No. We're on the first time that your father evicted you, not the second time. The first time your father evicted you, I can ask him, or you want me to stay with you?
You can ask him.
Fine. Tell me why you evicted her the first time, which you did.
The main reasons would be that she agreed to pay rent, which she never did.
She working?
Off and on. I'd say over the past 2 years, she's probably had, from my guesstimate, 15 to 20 jobs, all ranging from an hour, a day, I think the longest being about 3 months. Can't maintain a job, would prefer to smoke pot all day in her room and hang out with her boyfriend, basically. Which at the time, for the first eviction, she did not know Corey.
Okay.
But she still does the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. That's what you indicate here. So that was the reason that you evicted her the first time. And that was maybe in June?
I would have filed that June 9th of 2021.
June. Okay. But she came back shortly thereafter, in October.
The sheriffs removed her August 13th, 2021.
Is that because you asked her to leave and she wouldn't?
It's a 3-step process. And I had a 24-hour notice posted to the door after 34 days.
Well, she's your daughter.
Yeah.
So there must have been some discussion, Mr. Irwin, with her, you saying to her, listen, this is not working out.
There wasn't a discussion, Your Honor.
Was not?
I served her the first notice. We talked about it.
Oh, you talked about it?
Prior to me filing. I told her I would do it. I don't think she believed me.
She knew you wanted her to leave as a result of that discussion?
Yes.
And she didn't?
She did not.
She had lived with you off and on, with the exception of 2 years that she lived with her mother, and part of it in a residential program. It's a residential program, correct?
Yes.
When she lived with you, she was 10 years old. Can you tell me, Mr. Irwin, from the time she was 10 until the time she was 18 and she was ultimately evicted, what items in the house she purchased? Bed, TVs, anything big?
She never purchased anything.
When she came back from her mother, what did she come back with?
I believe just a few clothes and a bag. She had to kind of run back.
And to the best of your knowledge, had your daughter maintained any sort of gainful employment the last 3 years?
No.
So other than the clothes she came back with when she was 17, there were no big-ticket items?
There were a few by the time I had to evict her the second time, but I would have furnished those, being, bed set, furniture,
bed.
Tempur-Pedic bed. I think that's part of what she's really wanting out of this $7,400.
Okay, so you purchased a bed?
Yes.
Because you didn't have one in the room where she was?
I was just trying to take care. Yeah, I was using the room for my own purposes. I live alone until she moved back in, and usually welcoming of my daughter coming home, so I furnished a room.
Okay, so that's why you left the first time. The first time you left because he got annoyed that you were hanging around doing nothing and smoking pot.
I did pay rent,
right.
too.
Right. And weren't doing it much.
No, I was not smoking often.
We're not doing much, is what I said.
Yes, I had a job. I worked at the beginning of the year.
For how many days?
I worked there for about 3 months, and then I worked as a kennel technician for about 2 months.
What happened to both those jobs?
My dad, his alcoholism, he would never let me sleep in the room as I was paying rent, and he would lock me out. He would lock me out. He would lock me out, and he would flip the garage switch, so I wasn't able to get access to the house. I wasn't able to get clean, so I couldn't obtain the job, and my mental health wasn't there for that job, so that's why I took the kennel technician job, and that's when he evicted me.
Where are you living now?
With my boyfriend.
That's him?
Yes.
And where are you working now?
I am unemployed.
Sorry, that's easy. So now you're not working. Now nobody's locked you out. Nobody's made it impossible for you to work. And what kind of work does your boyfriend do?
He is construction. I do DoorDash.
Okay. Your boyfriend is construction?
Yes.
How old is he?
He is 20 years old.
You're Corey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who do you live with?
My mom and her new husband.
How did I know that? How did I just know that? It's so perfect to be old that, I asked the questions. I could have asked the questions and answered the questions. So you and your girlfriend live with your mother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what's the name of the company that you work for?
Landscape.
Do you work for them full time?
Yes, I do.
For how long?
I've been working for them about 2 months now.
2 months?
Yes.
Prior to that, what did you do?
I worked for Chewy.
Chewy, the dog products?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to that job?
I just wasn't liking the job anymore, and I thought I could do a lot harder work, and that's what I strive to do, is just continue trying to be the best person I can.
And what does your girlfriend do all day when you're out in your landscaping job for the last 2 months?
She stays busy going to the gym and making sure that everything is in tip-top shape, and just bringing me lunch when I'm on my break for work.
And you're living in your mom's house. Be a fair statement. You don't have to be a math wizard, which I am not, because you don't have enough money to move out into your own place.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does your mom work?
Yes, she does.
Who else lives in the house?
Her newly husband.
Now, you have a room in your mom's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it furnished?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who bought the furniture?
I bought the bed set, and
Tell me when you bought the bed set.
I bought it about 2 years ago because we moved there recently.
So what you're telling me is you purchased a new mattress
Yes.
with your earnings.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much was it?
It was about $1,500.
And if you left the house, you would want to take your mattress because you bought it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You wouldn't take any of the other furniture in the house because you didn't buy it.
Yes, correct.
Whether it's your dresser or a TV in your room, your parents bought that.
Yeah.
The mattress you bought.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you can sit. Show me that you gave him $3,000. I can't figure that you had saved $3,000.
I gave him that to purchase the mattress because that was the time I was purchasing my car.
How could you purchase a car? You don't work.
"19-year-old Isabel Irwin claims her father, Neil Irwin, owes for personal belongings.
Now, I'm going to sort of pull this together. Eventually, you moved back into the house after an initial eviction, and you weren't doing well, I assume.
Yes.
And then you came back a couple of months later and asked your father if you could move back in.
Yes.
And he said, okay.
Yes.
And that didn't work out. He was unhappy with the arrangement.
I was paying rent before. He was kicking me out, so I decided not to pay rent.
Whatever the reason, he wasn't happy with it. You were gone for a couple of months.
He evicted me, yes.
Yes. Well, he evicted you for a reason, Miss Irwin. You have to stop being a baby. He evicted you for a reason. He took you back because you went there. You said, I have no place to go. I assume, without going into specifics, because you look a little frightened, and I don't have to get that crazed with you because it sounds like a very sad situation. He said, it's not working out again. I want you to leave. And when you left, you did not, according to you, take your stuff. And your father, at some point after he received a text message from you, which I assume you have, sir.
I do.
Which said, have a nice life. After he received that, waited a while and disposed.
That was a statement I made because I asked him to help me fill up my tires because they needed air, and I saw him pull into the Safeway parking lot and leave with his groceries, and he never helped me.
Okay. So you said, have a nice life. And then you want a whole bunch of things from the house. Now, I want you to tell me, with your limited work history, which you have, hardly enough to sustain yourself, because in October you came back to him and said, I need a place to live. So I want you to tell me what you purchased.
I purchased the Tempur-Pedic bed.
And who did you purchase it from?
My father.
You purchased it from your father?
Yes, he made the original purchase and said I could just give him the money, which I did.
Okay. And how much did you give him for the mattress?
$3,000.
That's incorrect.
Show me that you gave him $3,000. I can't figure that you had saved $3,000.
I gave him that to purchase the mattress because that was the time I was purchasing my car.
How could you purchase a car? You don't work. You don't work.
The first one
this doesn't tell me anything.
Transaction that
this doesn't tell me anything. You want to tell me that tells me nothing. You want to give that to her. I would have to find credible, Miss Irwin, that you had managed to save from your job that you had for 3 months while you claim you were paying your father rent $3,000.
It was the leftover money from me purchasing my car.
Oh, I don't believe that. For 1 second. Okay, you want to tell me about the mattress, sir?
Okay, simply put, I got one for myself when she wasn't living with me, and the mattress I furnished her with, it was a floor model. He gave me a good deal on it. I think it retails about $3,500. I got it for $2,300. My daughter and I did have an agreement that she could purchase the mattress for $1,800. However, as you may have figured out, that did not occur.
And this was after she moved back in October, or when she was...
Yep, yes it was.
After she moved back in October?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mattress is staying where it is. Okay. Now let's go to dresser, nightstand, and TV. So you acknowledge that none of those things you purchased, bed, dresser, nightstand, and TV.
No, I did not purchase them.
Okay. Now that's your father's. He threw out my clothes, shoes, and jewelry. Now, you were evicted.
Yes.
Was it an actual eviction? Did marshals come to the house?
No. I got served the eviction notice on June 30th. He illegally locked me out.
No. Just June 30th.
Yes.
So on June 30th, you were given an eviction notice that said that you had to be out on what date?
In 30 days.
Okay. So far, is that correct, Mr. Irwin?
It's fairly correct. I do have the 30-day no-cause notice to quit that she was served.
Okay. And on what date did you leave?
On July 1st, because he had thrown a camera.
Just a second.
At my boyfriend.
You left on July 1st?
Yes.
Tell me how you left.
I packed a small bag and I had left.
You packed a small bag that contained what?
A few of my clothes and whatever I could grab for a few nights.
And where did you go?
To my boyfriend's house.
So you went to Corey's house?
Yes.
Do you have a laptop?
I do not.
Do you have a phone?
Yes, I do.
Did you take the phone?
Yes, I did.
You took some clothes with you, and you knew that you had an eviction notice, correct?
Yes.
Tell me what jewelry you allege your father threw out.
He threw out my necklace my boyfriend had bought me. He threw out...
Which boyfriend?
This boyfriend, Corey.
Tell me about the necklace.
He had purchased it for my birthday.
Okay. Stand up, Corey. Tell me about the necklace you purchased.
I had purchased it from K Jewelers. I had purchased it for about $250.
Okay. When?
On her birthday, just a little before.
When's her birthday?
February 20th.
Did she wear the necklace?
Yes, Your Honor.
Every day?
No, just on occasions, whenever we'd go out and do stuff and all that.
When she came to your house with her bag, did you ever see the necklace again?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Do you know where this necklace is?
I do not.
Did you throw away a necklace?
I guess anything's possible because when she left and sent me the "have a nice rest of your life" text, it looked like a hoarder's room, so I guess anything could have been in there.
Who cleaned it up?
I did.
Didn't see a necklace?
Didn't see a necklace.
Okay. Were you looking for anything of value?
I wasn't looking for anything. To me, it looked like old clothes that probably hadn't been worn in years.
Okay.
I just wanted to clear out the room.
Fine. Have a seat. Other than that necklace, what other jewelry did you have?
I had some rings I purchased from Ojai, California on a trip I previously took for my dad.
Okay. What else? You took a bag of clothes. What specific, because you had jewelry, shoes. I assume you took some shoes with you because you were going to be there. Well, you were wearing a pair of shoes.
Yes, I was. I was wearing my old shoes.
Okay. When you got rid of all of the stuff, Mr. Irwin, you didn't go through any of it?
No, I did not.
Did you give her any notice that she had 10 days, 2 weeks to get her stuff?
I did not give her notice.
On what date did you dispose of all of her stuff?
It would have been around July 20th, about 20 days after or so.
Okay. Well, but even according to your eviction notice, she had 30 days to vacate.
Well, if you read the actual eviction notice, it's 5 days. After 5 days, you have to file another part of the eviction notice, which is unlawful detainer, meaning that she is now there illegally. So she left within the 5 days, willfully.
I'm 19 years old, and I want to live to be 79. And right now, that doesn't look good for you. I'm telling you, you look troubled and older than your years.
"19-year-old Isabel Irwin has accused her father, Neil Irwin, of throwing out her personal property. Neil claims he paid for Isabel's belongings.
Okay, so you didn't file the next step.
I did not.
So she left within 5 days. That was the
Yes.
agreement. And she just left the place a mess.
A mess, yes.
Okay, who is this?
This is my mother, Janice Leonard.
Could you stand up, please, for a moment? Miss Leonard, how many grandkids do you have?
Well, from Neil to I have 6.
Did you and Miss Irwin get along?
Oh, yes. She came to, we lived in Idaho at the time. I had an equestrian center, so every summer she would be there all summer long. We taught her to ride. She had the best horses. She jumped. She was a fantastic rider. But as the years went on, it was just getting more difficult. When she turned 14, her behavior changed drastically.
Can you describe, I know that you moved back to where your son lived. And according to the answer, he gave you a key to the house. He was in Las Vegas on a trip.
That's correct.
Could you describe when you went into the house what Miss Irwin's room looked like?
Every time I would go over there, the house would be worse every single day. And there was a very strong, pungent smell, so I thought the dogs were going to the bathroom. Her room was a total disaster. There's clothes literally strewn, I don't know how tall, but 12 inches maybe. Nothing was ever picked up. And one day, before Neil came back, I said, this place is really smelling bad. And later I learned that they were smoking marijuana. They would be in the bedroom and giggling and in the bathroom together. And when I would come, she'd only be there for maybe 20 minutes and they both would leave. There was no respect, I have to say. I've seen her in action and she can be very nice and very polite, but there's a whole nother side that is actually very scary, to the point when she was years ago, 14, my husband and I were locking our bedroom door because we were afraid of her when she stayed.
Okay, thank you. Isabel, is that what they call you, or they have a
Yes.
Isabel. Word of advice, caution, you're 19?
Yes.
You look older. That's not a compliment. You seem like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you.
But I see issues there of blaming everyone else, and it's very possible that your father and your mother and other people share the blame in your issues. That's possible. But at this point in your life, Isabel, you're just starting, and you can either spend your life blaming somebody else, parent, grandparents, siblings, for where you are, or you can say, I have to get myself some help and put a period, because I'm 19 years old and I want to live to be 79. And right now, that doesn't look good for you. I'm telling you, you look troubled and older than your years. Your father looks better. Your grandmother looks better. They look appropriate to their age and stage and clearer. So I think that you should get some help. I also think, Mr. Irwin, there were things in her room, and believe me, I have seen rooms like that. You know, I have been involved with lots of kids and grandchildren. Most of them grow up, and once they get a place of their own, they walk around with a bottle of Windex and Bounty and clean up after everybody's fingerprints. But if they're living in their parents' house or their grandparents' house, they live like slobs. Sometimes that never changes. But, you know, there's messy, and then there is dysfunctional. And what you are describing is dysfunctional. And I think if your daughter was honest, she would look and she would say, that's dysfunctional. You were in the room, Corey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stand up. Would you describe your girlfriend's room in her father's house as evidence of being dysfunctional? Not a right here, Corey.
Okay.
Does her room look like your room?
No, it does not, Your Honor.
Okay. Would your mother permit your room to look like her room? It's not an answer, Corey. Would your mother permit your room that you're sharing to look like the room that was in his house where your girlfriend lived and you stayed occasionally?
No, Your Honor.
No. Okay, sit down. You should have looked for the necklace. He gave me an honest answer to everything that I asked him. So the necklaces was probably mixed in with a load of garbage that was there.
To say the least.
That was accumulated. It was like a hoarder. So I'm
Your
awarding
Honor,
you.
I
and
have a
you give it
video
to your
of the
boyfriend.
room.
$250 to go and buy her a new necklace. Thank you very much. This case is over.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I agree with the judge's decision 100%. I think it was very fair.
I think it wasn't fair.
She has so much more potential than what she's doing right now.
I was just trying to get my belongings, and he literally just never wanted me to do it.
She's a great kid, and all reality, she's just making some wrong decisions right now.
I made any really bad decisions. It's all been influenced by my father. You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I hope she grows up, and I love her.
I know I need to grow up, but he evicted me, gave me 2 days, and I didn't want to make my dad mad.
I hope you weren't talking about me when you were thinking of your grandchildren keeping messy rooms. I try and be neat and nice and organized.
Well, I wasn't thinking about you today as a law school graduate, but I do remember when you were in college and you were staying with us rather than in the dorm, keeping your door closed because it looked like somebody hit your room with a Mixmaster.
Maybe just a few too many open suitcases, I guess.
Yeah, open, unpacked suitcases. But got older and more respectful, and then you had your own apartment, and I remember visiting your apartment, and I said, who is it that lives here? I couldn't figure out who lived here. It's not the same person who lived with me.
It's a maturity thing, and I think I was shocked to see that she was only 19 years old, in line with what you said to her, that she looks older beyond her years, and some difficulty can do that to you, but you have to take accountability and do what you can to make your life organized and set yourself up for success.
That, you know, all that is true. I'm not sure that she has all the tools to do that, and I don't know if she has anybody there to guide her. It's too bad because she seems like an intelligent young woman, and her grandmother certainly portrayed a picture of a child who was accomplished when she was younger, and then something happened. You know.
I hope she turns it around.
Hope she turns it around.
Nancy Kesselman is suing her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Wilson, for living expenses, stolen property, and vet bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2049, Councilman versus Jorge Watson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Horath, this is your mother,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is your girlfriend.
My fiance, yes.
Is she divorced?
She's widowed.
Since when?
June 6th,
Of what year?
2022.
Well, let me understand this. Prior to you being a widow, you were involved with Mr. Horath. Were you divorced?
I was going through a divorce.
Okay. And then he passed away.
Yes.
Mr. Horath, in 2013, you were incarcerated. How long?
5 years.
And you have 2 little girls.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were incarcerated, were the children living with you
No.
prior to being incarcerated?
Yes.
They were living with you?
Yes.
When you went to prison, was there any reason the children didn't go with their mother?
She left him with my mother.
So your mother obtained custody of your children 9 years ago
Yes.
and raised them.
Yes.
You got out of prison when?
September 2017.
And when you got out of prison, your mother invited you to come and live in the house?
Yes.
In her house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else lives in her house?
My grandmother.
Who I understand from these papers is suffering from
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. So your mother was taking care of her mother and your 2 daughters.
Yes.
So your fiancée now, who looks as if she's expecting a child, was your mother's next door neighbor?
Yes.
And you became involved with her when?
End of October 2020, or 19, I'm sorry.
And when you became involved with her, you have 2 children.
Yes.
You invited her with your mother's permission to move in to your mother's house with her 2 children.
Yes, ma'am.
We did agree that she could move in and stay in the guest.
Had you been living in the house by yourself with the 2 girls?
Yes, I have.
How large a house is it?
It's pretty good, decent size. It was 1,980 square feet, now expanded out another 800 feet, so quite. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths.
How do you support yourself?
I own my own business. I'm a nurse. Due to the fact of taking care of my granddaughters and my parents at the time, I had to resign from Fort Irwin, working there because of couldn't commit to the hours. So because of that, I went ahead and got my own business of doing home infusions, and that started right before the pandemic. And so I work a lot.
Anybody help you take care before they moved in? Anybody help you take care of the girls and your mother?
No, it was me.
Now, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a truck driver.
And you?
Nursing student and mother.
So you don't work?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I was going to school and...
Well, supporting yourself doesn't go into school unless you were getting money for going to school. Were you getting money for going to school?
Yes.
From whom?
From financial aid.
How much?
Maybe like $800, $900 a month. And this was before I was living with Danny and Nancy.
And after you moved in with Danny and Nancy?
I was helping her take care of her mother, and her VA was paying me to take care of her.
She was getting the Veterans Aid and attendance. I gave her that extra money to help out with my mom and those expenses.
And then currently, I'm taking care of our young son we have together.
So you have a child together and expecting another one?
Yes.
So then you'll have 4 children, correct? Yes. And you will have 4 children?
I will have 4 children, yes.
Sounds as if your mother did some very nice things for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds as if Miss Castleman did some very nice things for you.
Yes.
Why do you think she's suing you?
Out of anger.
Mr. Horath, why would she be angry at either one of you?
Because we decided that we were going to go ahead off and do our own thing, and she was no longer included in being part of that.
Like what?
Well, being part of a family or a unit. Once my grandmother's health declined and she went to a facility, there was no more communication about anything that was going on around the house anymore.
I don't know what you mean by that. Your fiancé's arrangement was that she was being paid by the VA to take care of your grandmother.
Yes.
And then your grandmother, according to you, had to go into a facility.
Yes.
Which means your fiancé isn't getting any more payment from the VA.
Correct.
Now, you're working, you drive a truck.
Yes.
Were you contributing towards the running of the household?
Oh, of course, yes.
How much?
Whatever needed to be paid.
No. Tell me what you paid.
I paid the Edison, half the Edison.
Well, that's not a set amount.
I paid $300 a month.
Well, that's an amount. So you paid $300 a month towards the Con Edison.
Yes, ma'am.
What else did you pay?
We paid for the trash.
How much was the trash?
$50 a month.
What else?
I paid for the food.
For who?
For our family.
Well, for all of you or just for you, your fiancé, and the 4 children?
And my grandmother, yes, and my grandmother, and Nancy, too.
Not for me.
Shh.
Speak. She would come over and have dinner with us quite often. And I would make her meals and send them to her. What
you're saying is, because I read when you said she would come over for dinner, there came a time when there were an awful lot of people living in the house, and your mother, because it was so crowded, moved into a trailer on the premises, and you moved into the master suite.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Say thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Now, did you pay for anything else that you're not telling me?
Yes, we paid for the internet.
Their internet?
Yes.
Shh. For your own internet?
Yes.
I'm talking about expenses for the house. I assume the mortgage was paid off. Is that what you wrote here?
Danny did pay for the property taxes.
Okay. Well, then that was my next question. Property taxes. Did you pay for any of that?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
It was $1,264 a year.
Anything else?
Remodeling expenses that we did to the home.
I know it was expanded, and it was expanded after you were there.
Yes.
Yes. And do you know how much the remodeling expenses were?
The additions were done before I came home, but everything else was added to when we were living there.
Like what?
The pellet stove had went out, so we bought a new one.
Oh, that's I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'm not interested in that. I'm talking about regular. So let me get to my trusty computer. We have $300 a month for Con Ed. So I don't even have to do that. I could do 1, 2, 6, 4. Everybody knows me now. I'm a little challenged with regard to these things. Divided by 12 equals $105 a month. And $300 a month for Con Ed and $50 for trash is $5. So you paid in total the expenses that you told me, $455 a month for living in a 5-bedroom house. I'm just setting the stage for this. You paid $455 a month for living in a 5-bedroom house, and your mother moved out to live in a trailer so that you could be in the master suite with your fiancé, a new baby, and one on the way. Those are the objective facts that I have.
Okay.
Now, So I asked you, because your mother is suing for a lot of stuff, and I don't understand why somebody would take this approach when she was nothing but good to both of you. You screwed up your life. She got stuck raising your 2 children, working full-time, and taking care of a sick mother. You know what, you go to school, and you're a full-time mother, but that's very nice, but she's not your mother, she's not your grandmother, she's nobody to you. Mm-hmm. And she took you in and your 2 children. What do you think you did to make her so angry that she would sue you? I'm curious.
I honestly don't know.
Well, you started to tell me that you moved on because she ultimately gave you notice to leave.
We actually gave her notice we were leaving, and that's when all that started.
Okay. Did you also tell your mother that you wanted to buy the house?
Yes, I did.
From her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, that started the trouble. And your mother's response was?
Of course. She said, okay.
And what happened?
I went and applied for a loan. They told me that I did not meet the criteria for the loan. I said, okay, that's fine. What about a rent-to-own option to buy? And she said, okay. We tried to get a real estate agent to go ahead and write out the contract. At that point in time, she wanted to move one of her nurses onto the property, into the trailer that she was living in. I did not feel comfortable with a stranger living on our property. I don't know them. I don't want them around my children. I don't know who they are. And if I'm going to be buying a home, I wouldn't want to.
You're not buying anything. You were renting.
With the option to buy. I want to buy the home, and then when I go back to apply for the loan in a year, I was going to buy the home.
Maybe, maybe not. Mr. Horath, so far, you see, you have somebody who has done all things to make your life, which you screwed up a little bit, more comfortable. Takes you in, takes your girls in, takes your girlfriend in, takes your girlfriend's kids in, allows you to have more latitude and more freedom by moving herself out of her own home, which is totally paid off, into a trailer so that you could be more comfortable. And she said, you want to buy the house? Fine. You couldn't get a loan. Well, could I rent to buy? She says, okay. But she's still a working person, as opposed to your fiancé. You ratified the gift by buying her something that could only be utilized with that machine. So I'm not interested in the machine. Could we move forward, please? I have 7 years of postgraduate education. I'm getting very tired of this case.
Nancy Castleman claims her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Watson, owe for living expenses and stolen property. Danny and Trinity say they always paid their share of the bills.
Okay. Now, she's still a working person, and she said, I would like to move one of my nurses. She's not talking about moving in some sex offender into a trailer next to her grandchildren, who she's raised. So I wouldn't see what your problem is with that, but that's neither here nor there. So that started an acrimonious separation. I'm not going to rent the house because I'm not going to allow you to move somebody that I don't know. I'm not even going to meet them. Somebody that I don't know into the trailer. Where?
Bye, bye. Walaikum salam. Bye, bye, bye. क्या करना है मेरे को? क्या करना है मेरे को? मेरे नाल काम आ भी काम आया वा दई अच्छा किदा काम करे नहीं लोहार दा काम करे ना बई आए लोहार दा काम है क्या करे ना भाई मैं कुड़े से ना क्या करे ना भाई मैं कुनी मेरे से ना मैं गुडास तो क्या करे ना भाई मैं गुडास काम करे ना भाई है काम करे ना भाई अच्छा कितनी बनता है 100 ते 100 कितनी थी है नहीं मेरे से ना 100 ते 100 कितनी थी है मैं को दस से यहाँ था 100 ते 100 कितनी थी है ब्याह हसनैन खां ठीक ही फिट ही खैर तबीयत सेहत ठीक है खैर खरियत है फिट ब्याह नवी ताज़ी खैर खरियत है काम करे ना भाई
हाँ कल तेरी मजदूरी की थी ना भेड़
काम में ढेर मसरूफ हैं क्या?
हाँ जगह लेती जा ए चेल ए जा लेती
अच्छा
फुल दर्द
काम में दे में
असा नवा से मैं बंदे ऐसे बोला पता नहीं लगा काम बढ़िया थे
अच्छा काम तो बढ़ गई हो है
प्रोग्राम किधर जा रहा
प्रोग्राम दी भी गाल कहनी वाला प्रोग्राम वड़ में दे क्वेश्चन आ गया खेड़ गया वाला चुप ही ना करे थी कितनी गिराम है 100 बस ये तो इवें रीति में भी जे तू आ उड़ते आ मैं तो एक मिनट मेरे नाल कतरा में दूसरे मिनट गाल कर बैठा पीछे विनी पिया मैं भरे हुन चलदा पे ना मेरा काम सिस्टम मेरा चलदा पे
अच्छा भी है ठीक है बैठे ते बैसे ठीक है
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह शुक्र
और बिरादरी छुट्टी मुक्की वदी जा मत भाई से
हुन यार छुट्टी मुक्की वदी है हुन कई वेले कटारे पा दे समझवा
भैया
कई वेले वेसी पिया चढ़िया
अरे यार मैं पीता क्या
केरे नाल बात
यो कले भी होड़ी
जेड़ा करे ना पीना हाँ जेड़ा कर दे गोदा इन नाल बी गाल ना होवे मला मैं
ये जेरी सरोज है भाई ओ भी
मैं तो टिल्ली मार रही इन नाल मैं पत्ते तेरी नहीं बनदी
हां
क्या वजह यार
याद है ले एक तो फास्ट को पूछा भी
हां हुआ गाल वदी है जा
हां
ना भाई यार हुन बस छोड़ोगा फैसला तोड़ा करवेने है कहीं बुआ दे फैसले की दे हुन
मैं चौथी में फैसला है
वो यार ठे भी नहीं हुन कोई गाल नहीं दो चार देगा करने है वाला साहब जेबो करने है जा मसला कह नहीं एक गाल ठईत गई है को खत्म करो यार कले यार
यार बात चो में पता लगता है हुन आसा तो नहीं लगता है
वो यार कल काम जो करेना पिया मैं इथा क्या निजाम आ इथा क्या सिस्टम आ तोड़ा
इथा यार वो गली है जो पानी ना खाना
अच्छा
वो वाला पानी
परले दे उन्ने दे बराबर की देवे या थोड़ा जा ऊंचा रखे वे
थोड़ा जा ऊंचा
ततरा ज्यादा थोड़ा जा ऊंचा की दी जो मिट्टी ततरे है मिट्टी वाला रद्दा नहीं वेला या हम पासो रद्दा लावना है
बरोला यो ठीका ना मिट्टी पूरी ना
एक रद्दा ही लावना
डाले दिवाया को पूरा पैर काल
इकु काल
साजे एक बार के पैसे नहीं है के काय नहीं अरे आ तको इसे पूरे ने आया नहीं पीछे
इकु काल को दा पूरे दे पैन बचा की तने ना सही बनावन की वे पैसे की वे ना पैसे ता देना ना
तब तक काय रे
पैसे दा देना रोला पैसे ने ता लुक्या पिया कीवे सही क्या करे ना पई बाहरो जुलबा हूं अपना आए बाहरों जुलू हूँ अच्छा जुलदे पाए बाहर हूँ अपना धोपते जुलबाने हाँ जुलदे पाए